Are you seeing my screen? Sandra, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, I can see lecture 6, the process, the basics.
All right.
That's what I can see.
Okay, so we are looking at advertising process, development process today. And we are looking at these key learning outcomes. So one, that you will understand that advertising is a detailed, multi-staged business process. It's a detailed, multi-stage business process. So it is not something, so I can do it. Oh, let's start. I'm starting. It's not like that. Number two, identify the 9 steps of the advertising process. There are 9 steps involved in advertising process, developing advertising. And then the third one, that you will appreciate the plethora of different jobs that require different skill sets available in the advertising field. So when we talk about plethora, we're talking about many different kinds, many plethora of different jobs. So there are different jobs that requires different skill sets in the advertising field, which you have to understand. So today let's start with developing campaigns. When we talk about the campaign, advertising campaigns, when you're developing them, they are really fun. But not just fun, they tend to be a very serious business. So you cannot downplay with them. You cannot jeopardize with the issues under discussion. The reason why it is a serious business is companies actually invest a lot of money into their advertising. Sometimes when you see some of these ads running on TV, on radio, you make mockery of them, you just take them for granted. Let me tell you, they involve so much money. Think about the billboards and then signposts and even bust up pedestrian shelters that have been erected, raised, and run on radio by Central University. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. If you don't have money, running an ad is a major problem. It's a major problem. So it takes a lot of money, investment of physical cash into advertising, and businesses are spending so much money for them. You can have a medium-sized company investing tens of millions in the advertising enterprise. Large companies, if you talk about medium size, spending tens of millions, then you can think of large companies spending hundreds of millions. And the largest companies, think of Ford Motors, American Express, think about Nestle, think of Unilever, and etc. They spend multiple billions of dollars in their advertising every year. Think of it. So much money is going to advertising. With that kind of investment, it is important to have a rigorous step-by-step process that requires accountability. So you cannot just say that we want to run adverts and then the word go, we are going to run adverts. I have a degree in marketing, so let's start it. We can do like this, we can do. It is not like that. It takes a large number of specialists from the manufacturer and ad agency contributing as a team to create a good advertising. So take note of that. Large number of specialists. are involved. That is from the manufacturer. And then you are talking about the ad agency. All of them coming together to create an advert. For it to be good, it's a lot of money. So, having said this, it is important to pay attention to the process involved in developing the advertising itself. Very, very, very important. And so paying attention to these important steps, we have to look at about 9 of these steps that are involved in developing advertising. That is, if you intend to create an effective advertising, then you cannot jump start an advertising for the sake of starting. You have to pay attention to them. And these 9 steps, we are going to look at each of them into some details. So if you look on what I am sharing with you, you'll find out from step 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? These 9 steps are the things that you have to pay attention to be able to develop an effective advertising. So if we have to cover the syllabus, then we need to be able to cover all of these 9 special processes. That is where we have entered into the practical issues, because we say advertising principle and practice. First of all, we need to define the problems. Secondly, we need to conduct a research. Thirdly, we have to define the objectives. And then fourth, we have to look at the communication brief. Fifth, plan media. What kind of media are you going to employ? The media vehicle you utilize. Then you develop the advertising itself. You look at the procedure, or you produce the advertising. You develop it is different from how you produce it. After producing the advertising, now you test it. After testing the advertising, you go about running the adverts, and then you try to measure the results of the adverts. So basically, these are the things that we need to be able to cover. All right, so let's start with the first one, which is the problem definition. But remember, as I've said, we'll be going into each one of them into details. But for today, we are just taking a cursory look at each of them. Definition of the problem. Where you start from is define the problem as clearly and simply as possible. What problem do you want to solve? Right? What problem? So, for example, you want to find a problem of a particular brand. Let's take, let's say, Vortic mineral water. You know, we have other mineral waters, brands in Ghana. And let's take it that Vortic mineral water is losing its market share to, let's say, cheaper ones. Let's take an example of this very one. What's the name? The Casapreco one. What's the name? The one from Casapreco, produced by Casapreco. Awake. So let's say Vortic mineral water is losing their market share to Awake, which is priced much cheaper. Now, you want to develop an advertising campaign for them. First of all, you need to understand the problem. So let's say Vortic mineral water needs you to solve their problem. What are you going to do? You have to define the problem. So what will be the problem? The problem will be that Vortic mineral water is losing market share to awake. That's the problem. So simple, direct, succinct, and it is solvable. That's the problem. So you need to be able to describe the problem. The next thing you do is that you carry out a research or you conduct a research to better understand the problem and understand the consumer. Your ability to define the problem will help you to understand what the problem is and to understand the consumers when you come out with a research. So, given the example we have just taken, that is the Vortic, you may have to ask, let's say research could, your research needs to answer certain specific questions. The first one is that you want to find out, why is Vortic mineral water losing their market share? You also have to find out, is it because Awake is priced more cheaply? Or is it because Awake is considered environmentally friendly? Or it is popular or trending more? Or is it because Awake is from a particular person or owned by a particular person, or is located by or makes a particular claim? And then you want to also find out, why are consumers choosing Awake to Vortic? And why are they preferring it to Vortic? So these questions, as you ask them, so you want to find out, where are the opportunities and vulnerabilities in the water sales? Your ability to find these questions, answer these questions, is tailored towards a good research you will carry out. But these are not the only questions. You have to ask plenty other questions. Number 3, objectives and strategy development. You need to develop your marketing objective, what you want to accomplish. So you develop your marketing objective and then your strategy. So where the objective refers to what you want to achieve, and the strategy refers to how you plan to accomplish it. What do you want to achieve? Okay. So the same thing. So we're using the Belacqua as the example. So please, if you have a question, you can just raise your hand so that I can just come your way. So we are just looking at some of these issues gradually, but we'll be taking them one at a time. We'll cover them all. So you will need to be able to frame the objective and strategic development of your approach. An example we are considering is the Vortic water. So the objective and strategy could be framed in one way or the other. For Vortic, let's say objective, grow of Vortic by 5% over the next year. It's an objective. You want to grow. So as you are listening right now, you can be writing down some of these things for your other issues. Okay, so what will be the objective? So our objective is maybe you are for Vortic. You are planning advertising campaign for them. So the objective for your campaign will be that you will be able to grow Vortic by 10%. And then your strategy will be probably to help consumers understand the benefits, the health benefits of maybe the mineral water that is being offered by Vortic. You want them to understand. Maybe probably versus plain tap water injected with so and so and so. Maybe you know, or you want to use some kind of marketing strategy to push the consumers of Awake to you. Then you have to be strategic. Then you come out with your communication brief. Communication brief. Now that you know what you want to accomplish and how you want to accomplish it, a communication brief, which is called creative brief, explains to the teams that will develop the advertising what message needs to be communicated. What is important is be clear with your objective and be clear with your strategy. Now you are clear with that. Then you come out with your creative brief. Your creative brief is only going to give direction to the team as to how they should develop the adverts and what message they need to communicate. So when we talk about communication brief, I want you to write this note or take this short. If we talk about communication brief, then we are referring to a written document. Communication brief. We are referring to what? A written document. That can contextualize the objective. It's a written document that contextualize the objective, target audience, proposition, tonality, and other elements of the advertisement. So if you did right. So it's a written document that contextualizes the objective, target audience, proposition, tonality, and other elements of the development. The fifth one is the media planning and buying. Media planning and buying. This is where media experts figure, okay, you have a media expert figure. The media expert actually figures out the most impactful and efficient places to go and place the adverts in order to reach the target audience. So when we talk about media planning and buying, we are talking about what the media expert figure out. So a media expert will now, based on that brief, tell you that, hey, these are the places this advert should go. TV3, maybe Joy FM, or maybe Peace FM, all right? They will be able to determine the impact and the efficient places to actually send the advert. The reason is how you should be able to reach your agreed target audience, because you want to reach out to something. Very, very. All right. Any other thing? So let's take our water example, Vortic. So what would have been this one? So it's your media planning and buying. Maybe the decision you would have made would be to try and attract younger people towards Belacqua. Then you are able to also switch the consumers of Awake, okay, through advertising in probably in digital media and on social media. Maybe that's how you want to go about it. So that would have been the best channel. If you want to get young people, then it's certainly not on radio, certainly not on TV. You use the digital media. Then we come to the sixth part, which is the creative development. The creative team, the creative development has to do with the creative team, actually, which include copywriters and then act directors. They would take the communication brief and figure out how to communicate this strategy in the most impactful way they can. That's what they do. All right. So that's the sixth strategy. The seventh strategy is the production. Right? After an advertising concept has been presented by the creative team, because the creative team that will show how best the message should be communicated based on the communication brief. So you have the concept being being developed, and then that is presented by the creative team. And once it is approved, the concept is made into actual art for all the chosen media vehicles, all the vehicles you have chosen. Once they finish, that is where they will be run. Testing, number 8. So before you commit your money, all the millions of dollars or CDs to run the ad, first of all, go and ask consumers what they think is being said in the advertising. If you do that, it will save you so much money. You will also be amazed, right, at how often something that seems perfectly clear to you may not be clear to your target audience. That is the reason why you have to test it before you release it. The ninth measure is what we refer to as running the advertising and evaluating the effectiveness. So you measure results against the objectives. What was your objective? You want to probably increase sales by 10% or in 1 year or 2 years. So that objective has to be measured. Maybe in the first year, you say 5%. You should be able to check if 5% revenue has been added and check if your strategy is working. If it is not, then you make adjustment. You do that to be able to make adjustment in order to maximize the return on investment. This word, the return on investment, I've mentioned it over and over and over. Right. So these are the things that you have to do. Have to do. So when we talk about return on investment, that is the ROI. We are talking about the sales gain as a direct result of your investment. The sales gain. So the sales you gain as a direct result of your advertisement. So maybe you spend about 1 million cedis or dollars on advertising. You will have to check what return you made. What sales did you gain? And the sales you gain, can you really say that is beneficial or you actually lost given the money you invested? Then the process. So as we know, as I have indicated and you have also noted, good advertising is created using this sequential process, right? This 9-step process, if you don't follow them, you cannot create a good advertising. Because if you just dive in and start developing advertising, you do so without a thorough understanding of your target audience, the marketing dynamics of the category, or your competitor's strength and weakness. That is what you need to do so. Okay. So having said this, if you have a question, please ask as I move on to the next topical area. Any question? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Sir, with the 9 steps, would it be that it will only be applicable if you are having a problem or digital marketing?
Remember, we spoke about many adverts are being churned out on a daily basis. Have you remembered that? Have you also remembered that we said noise can become the problem that undermines the effectiveness of adverts? Have you also remembered that? Have you also remembered that I spoke about clutter being one of the reasons why many adverts are not being paid, attention is not being paid to them? So if you want to solve that problem, then you make sure that you follow a systematic trend in coming out in producing an advertising. Each stage will help you to focus. So by focusing on the stages, the 9 stages that have been prescribed, it will be easy for you to produce a simplified advert, straight to the point. Because if you're following the step, it is helping you to see whether you are following your own objectives, and you are also meeting consumers' needs. If you do that, you will make gains. If you don't do that, and you think that it is just competitors, in any case, there are competitors in every industry. In any case, they are there. There is no industry area, no category area. If you come to clothing, let's come to dressmaking, it's a category. There are different kinds of categories. To stand out, you should know that there are others who have also their images strongly positioned in the public space. So how are you going to distinguish yours from them? So that even in the first place, the consumers will not, one of the example of noise that I gave you was that the consumers will not even mistake your ad for a competitor's ad. It's also noise. That is why you are paying attention to the process. So we say that to produce a good advertising, make sure you follow the sequence or the sequential process. Don't just dive in and start developing advertising. If you do that without completely understanding your target audience, if they were young people, if they are middle income earners, if they are students, if they are a particular group of people, they are target audience. If you don't understand them well, you also don't understand the dynamics of the category where you belong to. And you also don't understand the competitor's strength and weaknesses, you're going to have problems. That is why we started by saying that you need to understand the problem, right? If you look at the process well, you first of all need to know the problem. What's the problem? After knowing the problem, now you conduct a research. So probably your competitors are doing something that you are not doing, and you took them for granted, and as a result, you are losing your brand. The same thing has happened to Central University. Central University used to admit, for business school alone, Central University used to admit over 800 students, between 600 and 800 students at a go. If you don't know, and I'm now making you aware, and I've come to talk, I've actually taught such numbers before. You'll be marking their script, and you will not finish. You need weeks and sometimes months to finish marking their scripts. Imagine you a lecturer handling 500 students, 600 students, 800 students. Central University used to admit that number for business school alone. I remember even for the master's program, the MBA program, Central used to admit over 400 to 600 students for the MBA program alone. How come they have lost all of these? And today, the whole business school together, all of you in level 200, right? Level 200, all of you combined in the business school alone. In the business school alone, all of you together, you'll be shocked that you are not up to 100. You are not up to 100. All the weekend schools, all the campuses, all of you together, you are not up to 100. And when you come to the MBA side, you don't have, in fact, to count 50, that is a huge success. So, what's the problem? So this is not a problem of universities are many. You took certain things for granted. So your competitors have taken advantage of that. And then people are now preferring your competitor over you. We Central University will have to conduct a research into that to find out and to understand themselves better, their problem, and understand their consumers. Because right now, if you don't understand your consumer, for instance, you are the consumers or you are the customers of Central University, if they don't conduct a research to understand you and what you actually need, a lot of more problem will still arise. And then the future will be a blink rather than good. So, my friend, have you understood why you have to follow all the nine steps now? Is it clarified? Yes. You are blessed. You are blessed. So your organization now, when they say they want to run ad, you can recommend something very powerful for them. Yes. Any other question before we move on? Yep. Yep. Please go ahead.
You have to wait for 6 months, a year, or two. For how long you have to wait before you measure results against the objective?
You know, budgets, companies, their annual budget, their budgets are, or their allocations and etc. They are done on annual basis. Is that not the case? Is that not the case? Right. So, which means that the particular area you have you have looked at as problematic, you want to address, and you are making an investment, probably your objective will be that in 1 year, probably you want to look at it in 3 years, right? But in each year, maybe in the first year of crafting your advert and running it, you are looking at growing your brand by 5% over the first year, right? So you cannot start the process and be measuring it. That'll be a problem. You have to wait until over the entire 1 year course. Because as you do that, remember, everything that comes in will be taken note of. Sales will be taken note of. They'll all be noted. Data will be produced on them. Those who are buying things that we're selling. You will also be looking at the advertising category, the products or brands that have been advertised. You'll be looking at that category, how they fare. You'll be and how they fare will basically be measured by sales increase or patronage. If it is a university, then you're talking about admission, right? How it fare, how was it received? How many students were admitted into that program area? Now, Central University has added so many other programs. Now they have fashion design, they have landscaping, all kinds of things. They have planning, architecture. They have different programs. All of them being added to the school's program, right? So, and the adverts are being run for them. At the close of the year, you have to find out this is how much we spent, and considering specialists that we employed and we are paying, adverts we run, and student number we have gotten, how much we got at the end of the day. You should be able to measure all of these will, if you want to do a very objective analysis and measurement, it is based on the annual report. That is why companies write report covering whatever they do annually. I hope your company does that. You write annual report, you submit annual report across departments. Fred. So the recommendable areas. So Sandra, I'll come to you. If I end there, Sandra, you take over. So that is what you have to look at. You have to measure on that base against your objective and then the strategy. So you check the objective. If really you have grown by 5% over the first year or 15% over the second year, so you would have measured the 5 year, because if you give 3 years period, you will probably also indicate the kind of percentages you should be growing within the 3 years. So maybe first year, you've given yourself 5%, and then the second year, you give yourself 10%, and then the third year, you give yourself 25%. Then you'll be measuring it accordingly, which means that at the end of the first fiscal year, you're not going to be evaluating it on the basis of 25%. You'll be measuring it against your 5% prediction. If it exceeds 5%, then you say, wow, you have grown by that margin. Then you know that definitely second year, third year, you will also be beating your margin based on your realistic objective and the strategies put in place. So at the end of each year, every company or every business year for companies, they sit down to craft what their objectives should be for the coming year and the strategies they put in place. Sometimes they do that per department. So all departments submit their objectives and strategy for the year, and that helps the brand manager or the company, the CEO, to put all things together and craft a strategic objective for the company overall across the entire department, and then craft a strategy also covering the entire department, which means that all other departments, they are going to feed their strategy into the overall objective and strategy. Okay. I hope I've sound a little clearer. I don't know, but you have to tell me. Fred?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to Sandra. May we hear from
Yes, sir.
Sandra?
Say, I want to know with the steps. So does it mean if you miss one step or you forgo one step, your advertising development won't be successful or effective?
Right. So some people, they say they know strategies of how to go about it. You see, this is a structured or standard way of going about it. Okay? Somebody may decide that, okay, we will know our problems already, or we don't actually have problem. So even if you don't have a problem, it's still a problem, because why will you want to run an ad? You have to understand why. So the why question is addressing a specific need. A need is a challenge. A challenge is a problem. A problem is a dilemma. That's what you want to address. So you cannot just jumpstart and say, I'm running an advert when you don't have any reason. And then you cannot also say, okay, this is my reason. Then I have no objective. I don't want to set any objective, so I just want to go ahead. So you can see that the 9 steps, they are not things you can easily miss. They are not things you can easily miss at all. You will always consider them. Maybe probably if it is not, if maybe the what do you call it, the research area, maybe small businesses that are upcoming now may say that they want to skip that aspect, but that is in fact even the most relevant area, because a small business starting today can even create a niche market for itself. So if you begin by research, you are going to be more effective in your years, in your growth. So every company, no matter what, need to consider research. But I have noted that in our part of the world, Businesses are just operating and they don't conduct research. They're just go doing anything and doing anything to make money. All they want is they are making profits. So Sandra, if you do that for some time, when you have a competitor come and then begin to do more of what you are not doing, they will take your market away from you. Sandra, I don't know if you are clear with my
Yes.
insight shared. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. Sandra is done. So that Sandra, your hand can go down. Any other person want to come in, please? Any other person want to ask question? Jemima Eyeram. Fozia to Karim. Fozia today drove her best friend Richmond away from the class that he should not attend. She's attending on his behalf. Fozia, thank you. So any other person with a question? All right. If no question, let's look at the next thing that will involve advertising agencies. Advertising agencies. Advertising agencies. So we want to look at advertising agencies themselves. So now, when we come to the agencies, who accomplishes which tasks at an advertising agency? Most agencies have similar structures, right? And sometimes they work in similar manner. So sometimes it can also be surprising to people just how many people it takes to develop and produce advertising. For the advertising areas, a lot more is done. So when it comes to advertising, marketers own the brands, right? Marketers, they own the brands. They want to promote and sell. For example, Apple. What does Apple own? Can you tell me what Apple own? Yes. Apple. What does it? What does the company own? Apple own. Who knows what Apple own? Sandra.
Yes, sir.
What does Apple? What does Apple own? What does the company own? The Apple company.
Sir, I know of the own phones.
What phone? You have to be specific.
iPhone.
iPhone.
Apple
So they
iPhone.
own iPhone. Okay. What
MacBook.
else? MacBook.
Yeah.
Different kinds of MacBook. What
Yes,
else?
please.
Mhm.
Watches. Yeah, they have watches.
Okay.
Yes, as well.
They own their brand.
Okay. So these are the things that Apple owns. They own the iPhone, the MacBook, and etc. Right? So it is their job. It is the job of the brand manager to help marketers promote and sell brands to find partners. Or specifically in this example, to help them sell more iPhones. So, Sandra, what's the name of your company? The company you work with?
It's a Wesley Clinic.
Wesley Clinic.
Clinic. Yeah.
Okay. So, hospitals don't own specific brands that they sell, but generally they are offering services. Is that not it?
Yes.
Do they advertise? Hospitals, do they advertise?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is the aim of the adverts?
Sir, to let the public know the kind of services we are rendering at the facility. Yes, and
So, your facility, what do you offer?
So we do a whole lot of things.
No, your department,
We,
where you have been employed to. What do you do? What is your service line?
my I serve and dispense drugs.
All right.
That is what I
So in your
interpret
okay, so in your
prescriptions.
advertisement, uh, okay, so in your advertisement, you make the public aware that you offer as a prescription services.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Oh, okay, right. So that's what we are talking about. So the goal of the manager of your uh, clinic is to help all of you functioning in different departments to excel, to have people, because not every patient, anybody who will come to the hospital is actually coming to be diagnosed or to check their to consult a doctor. Sometimes somebody is just coming to for just to check their sugar level or to check their BP or to check a specific thing, and then they are gone. Is that the case, Sandra?
Yes, very true.
Good.
Correct.
Good. So those of you functioning in that department, if your service areas are not advertised, people will not know about it. So that is exactly what Apple does. So Apple owning iPhones, and iPhone has their partners all over the world. So the more they advertise, the more they are helping their partners to sell them, to sell the phones in all countries, to sell, to sell. That is what they run adverts. So the advertising agencies, they create communication campaigns to sell marketers' brand, and they hire production companies to turn ideas into tangible ads, right? To turn ideas into tangible ads. Advertising agencies then take those finished ads to media companies. For example, they go to Facebook, they can go to, if for instance in America, Time Magazine, NBC, the New York Times, if in Ghana, or maybe a CNN if they want to capture other countries, or Al Jazeera if they want to look at the eastern countries. If specific in Ghana, TV3, TV Africa. I don't know which TV has the highest um, traffic in Ghana, which TV station or network in Ghana has the highest uh, traffic. Do you know of that? TV3. All right. So we want to find out whether to send it to TV3, etc., to run the ad. So marketers and their advertising agencies measure the success of campaigns and adjust accordingly. So they'll be measuring. If the campaign is not successful or it is somehow is making inroad somehow, they have to keep adjusting until they get what they want out of it. That is why the big companies invest so much money into their advertising campaigns. It's not a small thing. So who do what inside an advertising agency? We want to look at some of the categories. Advertising agency is generally performed in 5 main categories. We have number one, the account manager. Number two, research and account planning. Number three, media planning and buying. Number four, creative development and production. Number five, support. So these are the 5 main categories within an advertising agency. So depending on the project, specialist or specialty areas could be added to perform specific functions. But broadly, there are 5 main categories: the account manager, research and account planning, media planning and buying, creative development, and then creative development and production, then the support. So if we talk about the account manager, it is you have the account managers work directly with clients. Okay, they are the ones working directly with the clients, and they manage the entire advertising development process from beginning to the end, bringing in all the right people to get the best possible outcome. That's their work. So you can think of a conductor of an orchestra. If those of you who have been to the National Symphony before, the National Symphony has a conductor. That is an orchestra. I think ICGC also has an orchestra. So these are the two famous orchestras that we have in Ghana, only two, the national and then the ICGC one, apart from that. Right. So you can think of the conductor. So if you come to the orchestra, you have the person, the person who plays none of the instruments during a concert, but all the instruments are played exactly at the right time, and then the concert is executed because of their work. Okay, so that is what the account manager does. He coordinates everything from meeting the client and then taking over, looking at the development process, advertising development process from the beginning to the end, making sure that the right people are brought in to actually produce the best possible outcome of the ad. Then you move on to the research and account planning. The research and account planning, they are the problem solvers. They are the problem solvers. Don't forget, when we came to, we looked at advertising as a marketing tool. We look at the various types of agencies that are there, the various types, and the specific thing that they do. We have the full house agency, and what they do. They do everything from research, from the beginning through production, everything, call everything. Then we have the specialist groups also there. So I think I gave you basically about 9 of those. All right. So now we'll look at the research and account planning of a section or department or category working in the agency. They are the problem solvers, as I have just mentioned. Researchers are those who immerse themselves in understanding the brand. So they come to understand the brand. They immerse themselves into it. So they understand the brand, then the consumers, and the problem to be solved. Then they figure out the best way to solve that problem. Then the account planners write the communication brief. So don't forget, you have research and account planning. So two things joined together. So you have the researchers actually trying to understand the brand itself, the consumers, and the problem that needs to be solved. Then they figure out the best way they can solve the problem. After they are done, account planners then write the communication brief. They write the brief and they shepherd the work through the creative development. They also work closely with the creative team to make sure the advertising created communications, the message, the message consumers have told us they will be responsive to. Because consumers will by all means tell you some, though they will give you some messages. And that messages they give you, that is what needs to be responded to. So make sure that the creative team does not produce something that is not required. So they will have to follow what the account planners have put forward. Then they come to the media planning and then the buying. So under the media planning and buying, you look at where is the target audience? Where are they? Where is the target audience? Here you have the media researchers and then the planners and buyers. They figure out the most impactful and efficient media for reaching the consumers, because they will find out where the consumers are. Where do we find them? Through what channel can we find them? That is what the media researchers, planners, and buyers are going to do, right? So they will find out the agencies and media department. Okay, they will have to find out maybe the people who want to, maybe they want to look at the Gen Zs. the Gen Z's young people. Where do we find them? All right, they are mostly online. Then you have the planners come. All right, if they are online, where do we find them online? On social media. Which platform can we get them in their numbers? We mentioned them, blah, 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 blah. Then the media buyers come in. Okay, then why don't we buy ad on Facebook? Or we'll find some of them on Instagram, on TikTok, on so and so, and then run our ads there. And then they will be monitoring the ads as they are run on the daily basis. They'll be monitoring. They'll be monitoring at what time to run the ad. They'll be monitoring. Then you come to the creative development and production. The creative development and production section, you have the copywriters and act directors working in teams to develop fresh ways to communicate. So together, they will conceive different ways to communicate information that is found in the creative brief. So you have copywriters, art directors, all working together. When you talk about the copywriting, then you are talking about the copywriters actually creating the story being told in an ad or write the words used to tell that story. Right? That is what we call the copywriting. This includes the headlines, the body copy, the radio scripts, television scripts, social media posts, etc. Anything written in an ad comes from a copywriter. So when we talk about copywriting, that's what we mean. Then from there, you have the act director, the directors acting. So we come to act direction. So under the act direction, which is a component. So we are looking at the component issues that I've just mentioned. I'm mentioning all of these under the fourth item, that creative development and production. So under the creative development and production, you have the copywriting. And the copywriting is where you have the copywriters actually creating the story to be told, or the story being told in the ad, or they write the words that are to be used to tell the story, from the headline to the body copy to radio scripts to television scripts to social media posts. Anything, right, that is written in the ad will have to come from the copywriter and the copywriting. So after the copywriting is done, it is directed towards the art direction. Here, the art directors direct the visual presentation of the ads. So the words that have been written will now need to be acted. So here that in adverts that are run, whether on radio, some people talk. The things they say, they are not coming from them. It is the copywriter who actually wrote all of that, whether they are saying it in P, in Ga, in Ewe, in Hausa, whichever. They were actually written down for them to say exactly what they said. If they have to use the visuals, then you have the act directors coming in. So, okay, we are going to use this visual presentation. If they're using celebrities, you are going to dress like this. You are going to stand like this. You are going to be posting yourself in this manner. Like you have Nana McBrown advertising for high sex. She did not just stand to do it. It went through all of these stages. This involves visual storytelling. The visual storytelling, now we are using pictures or people to tell the story in a way that consumers will not only understand, but wouldn't be able to forget. So you saw the various categories of advertising. We looked at the hard sell, we looked at the soft sell. This is the process they go through. They have the art direction section where the visual storytelling comes in. So you watch it, so I like this art. That is the aim. They don't want you to forget it. They want you to understand it. That after the art direction is done or have done their part, it is handed over to the production section. Then the production teams, they take the creative team's work and they make it into the tangible arts that are ready to run in whichever media vehicles have been chosen. They actually actualize the creative team's work. Now that this is done, the support, which is the fifth agency, takes over the support area. So when you come to all of what we are talking about, roughly about 20% of an agency's personnel will be allotted to support groups. Okay, so you have personnel working in the agency. They'll be divided. They'll be shared. About 20% will be allotted to support in the groups, various groups. So they have the legal. So when we talk about the groups, these include the legal. When we talk about the legal, all major agencies have their own in-house legal department to make sure the advertising being created is legal. Remember, the reason why we have controls over ads. When we talked about legal and ethical challenges that advertising faces, we looked at regulations, the 4 major kinds of regulators that are there. So the legal department within the ad agency will always have to vet and show and prove that this ad that is being created doesn't have any legal implication and it is illegal. And when it is run, we are not going to find ourselves falling off the law and have problem also with the law. Then you have the talents. We have the talent department. The talent department makes sure all the talents, in other words, the actors in the arts, are paid correctly. So remember, we have the support unit. The support unit includes the legal department, the talent department. And the talent department, they are those who ensure that the actors in the ad, they are paid well or they are paid accordingly. Then we have the traffic department. The traffic department makes sure ads get to the correct media vehicles on time. So if they have to advertise on Instagram, there is a time you have to post. If you have to advertise on Facebook, there's a time you have to run the ad. Very important. If you don't do it, you miss the traffic time and you have problem. The same thing applies to the TVs. So maybe you are buying a time on TV3. You have to look at the traffic time, which they refer to as the peak hours. And the peak hours are highly priced hours. Then the non-peak hours. And then again, it also sometimes depends on the particular segment, and the personality holding that particular segment is the one who makes it a selling segment or a selling point that you can actually advertise on. Then we have the accounting and finance department. The accounting and finance department makes sure agencies run profitably and pay their bills on time. So you are seeing the support services. Then you have the human resource. The human resource department makes sure agencies are properly staffed and trained. So you just don't fix in anybody anywhere. Then I told you, when the need be, sometimes they bring in what we call the specialists. And when we talk about specialists, these include data analytics. And we talk about data analytics is actually one of the great opportunities of working in digital media. So how actually to track everything. How to track everything. Because every computer or mobile device comes with a unique address. And how do you track if you are performing on these? So data analysts can tell exactly what ads were seen, how much time was spent with the ads, if ads were clicked, and any other. So as you go online and you are clicking on people's posts, you are clicking on ads, please note that you are being read. There's somebody who sits behind his computer and is checking. For example, when I post a video online or on YouTube and I ask you to watch, if you watch, I know who clicked what. I know what time was spent watching. So somebody come to click something at 3, let's say at this very time, 4:28. You click and then you started watching. You jump from a particular point to I can be reading that. I'll be seeing all of that. Then I'll check how many minutes you actually spent watching. Who subscribed? I will see that. This person subscribed. And if you watched the video or you watch what was posted, right? And you come back to watch again, I'll see that you are returning to watch. So all of these are done. So you have data analysts who are there doing that. So data analysts will digest the big data, right? The big data refers to the collection and analysis of all internet users' online behavior used to understand quantitatively what people are interested in, or what they react to, or what they avoid. And then an insight or insights are built around that to help advertisers do a more effective job by reaching those people. So you see that sometimes the adverts that will come back later from that particular brand looks more professional because of the way you attended to it in the previous one. All right. So these are some of the issues that you need to understand. Then we have also what we call UX design. The UX design refers to user experience designers. User experience designers. The user experience designers, they design and evaluate how consumers interact with online advertising, how they interact with websites, apps, and any other approaches used to attract consumers online. So as you are listening to some of these things now, these are all skills that, my people, you have to learn. Nobody is going to teach you in the university. So when we are talking about ads, specializations and all of that, nobody is going to teach you this. You have to learn them. There are side skills that you have to learn. And sometimes you have to go and pay money online and then learn them. For example, you can register with Coursera, with other, let's say, edX, educational, or Mood service offerers online, and then do some of those programs. They will help you. All right. Then you talk about digital production. The digital production refers to producing online content for online. And this requires an army of computer engineers, coders, and production staff that will shepherd project from beginning to end. So when you talk about digital production, it's not just something simple. If you look at one of the churches in Ghana that take their digital production very serious, is ICGC Christ Temple. ICGC Christ Temple. Everything is very professional, high tech, and sometimes they are far ahead of even companies. The ICGC Christ Temple, they are far ahead of many companies. If you look at their digital production, it's A1, it's excellent. And if you go beyond Ghana, you can talk about Christ Embassy. They have one of the finest digital production services that they offer. Excellent, excellent. Then you talk about project management. Project management is also a specialist area that can be included in the service areas of other agencies. That is when it is needed, they add them. Project managers are similar to account managers, generally, except that project managers, they work inside an agency exclusively and not necessarily with clients. Okay, so they are within the agency exclusively. But you see, account managers, they work with the clients. They receive the job and they will keep on interacting with the client throughout. If clients are not satisfied, they are the one to know. They are the one that are communicated to. So that with their tax, the tax of the project managers, primarily they develop the work plans. They choose the staff to complete objectives on time and on budget, and they take projects from idea to completion. Then you come to public relations. Public relations specialists manage the public image of a brand through mass communication campaigns, and relationships with the press. Public relations was considered a separate discipline for brand building until the advent of integrated marketing communication, which I told you earlier that now almost every brand is performing that. Every brand is doing an IMC. Okay. Then we'll talk about social media and community manager specialists and search specialists. All right. So most of you here are not working with the agency. So when you start working with an agency, that is that is an agency that is doing almost everything. Like the Full House agency, you understand most of this. Some of them, not all of them, have all of these components actually functioning, which we need to understand. So when it comes to social media and community manager specialists and search specialists, then you are talking about something housed within a media department, okay, or standalone media planning and buying company. Social media and community manager specialists actually help agencies effectively present advertising campaign, the advertising campaign content on social media. That is what they do. Then we have the search specialist. The search specialists understand how to maximize impact. They understand how to maximize impact by affecting how high company content will rank on search results. So for instance, Google and Bing. So we want to find, you can try to go online or go on Google and type my name, Christopher Krebetier, and see what pops out. So let's say I am an advertising agency, and that is an ad that I'm placing out. So it is about me, and I am the one who is the product going to be marketed, right? When you type my name, where will you find it on search results? Will it come first? Or you have to look through search results and be looking before you find it. That's the work of search specialists. So today you will hear terms like SEO, search engine specialization or optimization. These are done by search specialists. These are created. Please, these are areas you can also mature your skills. So don't downplay yourself. They are areas you can mature your skills. So take them seriously and see what you can do out of them. We have agency positions, right? Agency positions. There are many other positions that may be involved in the work of advertising. And as I said earlier, companies may be structured slightly differently and titles may also change. Okay. So depending on the organization, an advertising agency, Crispin Porter plus Bogeski calls account managers content managers, right? So I'm referring to Crispin Porter and the Bogeski. They call their account managers content managers. So if you hear of content managers, so positions in an agency, they are varied. Sometimes they are the same thing, but just that the titles have changed. Others will also use client services, account representatives, brand managers, and other titles. So depending on the organization. So most of the things that I have referred to may not necessarily be called that when it comes to those special titles that have been mentioned. So depending on what the agency wants, they can have the same operative content or areas or schedule or responsibility, but the title may be different. All right. So why content is important, we'll be looking at it later. And then we will find out how important it is to understand how advertising gets created, which position does what and when. And finally, how helpful it is for you as a university student to get these ideas possibly early in life before you complete your university. Probably most of you or some of you may find yourself in that particular category. And who knows how you are going to upstage. When it comes to the medical area, they are very sensitive about their domain. So given those of you who are working within the medical area, you can consider these things very seriously. And if you become specialist, you understand the ethic or the ethical regulations guiding the profession. So you can do very good job in those areas, because the pharmaceutical industry, the medical areas, that is where the money is. So much money is in those areas. All right, so I will like to end on this note. If any of us has a question, please ask. If you have any question, you may kindly ask. If you have a question, please ask. If you don't have a question, then kindly revise these issues. I think I will need to make the recording available to you. Right? Yes, Sandra, your hand is up. You have a question? Go ahead. Sandra, you see, I am seeing your hand up. Or was it the previous hand that you raised that is still up?
Previous one, not now.
Oh, okay, then you put down your hand. So you click on the hand and then drop your hand down. All right, thank you. Okay, question. If no question, we'll end on this note. And please do review. So I'll try to send you a few notes, okay? I need to put a few notes together for you.